everybody. Hello. Welcome to the Management Q&A. You got Q's, we got A's. Hey! Anybody here come from Drew's Shadow concert that you just gave?
Thank you for coming. I was really nervous, and now I feel very lightheaded, but it's nice. Yeah, I know.
That's how you know you did it right.
Yeah.
So here we are. Any question is open season. This is why we have this. We have an audience mic over here, so feel free to come down, or if you need it brought to you, you can just raise your hand, and we'll make sure that you get in the queue, so to speak. So lean in to the microphone kind of close, and just let us know what you need.
So my family has been doing this since 2017. I'd say it's an important part of my son's growth. He asked us to misgender him in Florida to feel safer. He also asked that he not have to come back to Florida again. The question is, do you have a time frame on when there will be an event we can attend again?
Well, first of all,
Thank you for coming. Yeah, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry that happened. That's a terrible thing. And I obviously, your question is more specific, but I just want to say that we are very much aware that these are concerns that are not just yours, they're your family's, and they're shared by other guests. Our dream running this is to make a space that everybody really does feel welcome. I think that we can do that on the ship. It's obviously getting harder and harder in Florida.
It's Florida.
Yeah, no, yes, it is. And
Yeah, so we talk about this internally. We take it up with our cruise people, and I think it was 2019 when we had our blind spot and we had put Jamaica on the itinerary, and we were able to change that. We recognized it. In this case, you can change where the ship goes, but you can't change the departure ports. And right now, there are not many ships that are sailing out of, say, San Diego. Almost all the ships that we can hold the event on are in Florida. And we are working. We can't give you a timetable now, but they know it's important to us. And if there's a way that a ship can be deployed to a port where we can go, where we need to go for the ship, we will.
yeah, and I think when we talked on deck, I talked a little bit about kind of the double bind situation of, in order to keep running this event and providing this space that I think is about more than the official programming, about the guests, we have to be able to sell the event, and we've found that the events are appreciated based on the onboard content, but they tend to be sold on the itinerary. 2018 was an absolutely amazing trip, and we almost went out of business because it was the same itinerary as 2017. The feedback from 2018 was off the charts. I've talked to a lot of people whose first cruise it was. It was an incredible cruise. But the itinerary options out of San Diego are significantly more limited than in the Caribbean. And this is not to say anything about the validity of your concerns, because they're essential to you, and not just you. But that's one of the things that is on our mind when we do this, an unfortunate kind of commercial consideration. But we do hear what you're saying.
yeah, I mean,
And I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that you and your family and your son.
It's very
have to
frustrating.
do
It's
that.
very frustrating to us as well. I would love to never go to Florida again, quite honestly. Not that every person in Florida is the same, and so but yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's a monstrous thing, and we are at the moment stuck in it.
Yeah, our event, we've gotten to the point, it's a blessing and a terrible curse in this particular case, that this event is very geared towards and operates very well on ships, like this specific ship especially, and its sister class ships, as far as the size of the venues and the types of venues available to us. And they don't deploy in too many places, and unfortunately not yet on the West Coast, or at least when we need them. And just as an example, if we were to go to the next size ship, which is what usually sails out of San Diego these days, we would basically have to reinvent this event, because even though it holds more people, the main theater, for example, holds 200 fewer people, and it's in the round. And the back deck isn't, oddly enough, as accommodating for a large stage. And the spaces available on board are in different orientations, not necessarily better or worse. Sometimes, we've analyzed them, we've sailed on these other ships to check them out as possibilities. The short version is, it would take kind of a ground-up reinvention of this event in order to just move to that class of ship, for example. And that's not to say we can't and won't do that if we believe that circumstances are such that, sailing out of Florida becomes completely untenable. But it's also not, we can't just say, we'll just pick this up and put it down on this other ship that's available.
I imagine it's not very helpful for you to just hear the reasons why it's not just an easy thing that we can do. And please understand that we really do.
Oh, no, I understand. There's what you have to do, and there's what I have to do for my family.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
As much as this is also family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's absolutely heartbreaking.
first.
No, it's absolutely heartbreaking, really, honestly.
It hurts us genuinely when we hear these stories from, particularly the trans community within our attendees. We hate to hear it, and we talk at length all the time about how can we mitigate this, how can we change it, what is possible and what is available to us, and even sort of, are there ways that we can, funnel the attendees through the safest possible path while they are in Florida, for the extent they have to be in Florida for this event, if that's where we're stuck being for however long. Go ahead.
Just to reiterate what Drew brought up at the beginning, is that we try to make the best world we can here, and it's sad that we can't. There's a limit to where we can extend it, and I'm very sorry.
Yeah, but to make it absolutely
on you and your
to make it absolutely clear,
family.
we absolutely hear and welcome that kind of feedback, whether it's direct or we hear about it through the Facebook group or the Discord, and we understand, and it affects us, and we're not just shrugging our shoulders and saying, well, sorry, but it's a business or whatever. It is important to us, the health and safety. It's one of the tenets of
And
our
when we
event.
see the opportunity, we will.
We wish we had a better, easier answer other than that, but it's just the one we can give right now. But we continue to listen, and we continue to learn, and we continue to work towards trying to improve the event in multiple ways. So thank you for your feedback, even when it's angry, we understand the anger, and we know where it's coming from.
And yeah, I think I speak on behalf of myself and the rest of the attendees, like, we love that you are here, and we, as much love as I can give to you as a person I've talked to for 10 minutes. And, this experience you're having and who you are and expressing it freely, that's like the coolest part of doing this, is to give that space to people, and that's not going to be possible for you. It's really sad.
And we hope that there are ways that you can continue to participate in the community, because I know that everybody feels this.
Yeah.
And not to wrap it up glibly, but genuinely, Ron DeSantis can go fuck himself hard.
Hi, I live in Europe, but I'm not American, so I don't have exactly the right political context. So as far as this is a difficult and I acknowledge sensitive question. Do you envision that the crews will require masking indefinitely? And if not, what would it take to make them optional in future?
Well, the masking question is a difficult one. It's a complicated decision to make, and we look at a number of different factors, and some of them conflict with one another. And then we try to sort of thread the needle. What we try to consider is, science, official recommendations from government health organizations, what standard practices are on cruise ships and within the cruise industry. Also, what we believe the community wants. And again, that's obviously a very broad spectrum of opinions and desires as far as masking goes. And then we try to make the decision that I think supports the community best, that sort of errs on the side of more safety and errs on the side of allowing more people to feel comfortable attending. And we obviously recognize that anytime we make a decision like this, it's going to make some people happy and some people less happy, and that's just, there's 2,000 people who come on the ship. There's no way we can have a masking policy that everybody likes. So that's how we ended up in this place, and the process will be largely the same as we look at next year. I can tell you that we are very much hoping to make this decision a lot earlier.
Earlier.
And we understand that was part of what made it difficult for everybody this year. But it's the way, a year ago, the COVID situation has moved and changed so quickly at times that you kind of have to try to skate to where the puck is going to be. And I think, in recent weeks and months, the numbers have been more stable. It doesn't seem to be swinging wildly in one direction or another. All we can do is look at the trend and try to predict. But we have all talked about how we really, really would like to make a decision early on and let everybody know what it is so that they can decide what they want to do. That being said, we are also really adamant that if the situation changes and we do need to make a change for safety reasons, then we will do so. So I don't have an answer for you. I don't know how masking is different in wherever you are. I think it's
From county to county.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very hard for us to predict what we're going to do. We're going to make the decision the same way, but again, we're going to try to make it earlier.
And our plan right now is to make that decision before the 100% refund deadline is done, knowing that,
The timing for this year, we were trying to err on the side of caution because we've had this new variant and we've seen what the winter surge was going to be like. And we didn't want to decide one way and then turn around and have to decide another way. So we were trying to just give you all one answer. But that said, we erred a little too much on the side of answering it too late. We fully understand. And so yes, we are going to make that decision earlier either way.
And the other part of that, so there's that, and also that it's a lot like Florida, in that there are things that are well out of our control, and they involve laws, legal issues that aren't settled, and that they're evolving. So even when we announce that policy, we can't 100% guarantee that if we say there will be no masks or there will be masks, that we have to react to all of these things. But we did learn the lesson that at the earliest we can provide good information, we will.
And pardon me. Regarding the feedback, even when it's hard to hear and there's anger in it, we really do appreciate it. It's important to know where everybody is. And I want to say for both the guests for whom masking this year has been incredibly important, and also the guests for whom it has been a turnoff, that we really hear that, and we are going to review, along with everything else, the feedback after this event.
And there will be a question in the survey about this if you haven't been on the cruise before, we do have a survey. We really do want to hear what you think and feel.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Claudia Sheher, and my wife and I first came on one of these for our sort of delayed honeymoon, and we've been on 5 of them, and it's been awesome. But even though we didn't get married until it was nationally legal, every year we have thought, do we have to bring a power of attorney so if one of us ends up in a hospital in Florida, we are sure that we're going to be able to do what married couples are supposed to be able to do for each other. And we have unfortunately made the decision that we are going to cancel our reservation for next year. And I've been, sharing anecdotes with friends who are not on the boat, and one of them was like, "You've sold me. I'm talking to, my whole family," and I was like, "Your family includes 2 Black trans women. I cannot, in good conscience, encourage you to book for next year." I know you know what the situation is for people in Florida, but I just want to say it's huge, and it will be with great sadness if we don't go on next year's cruise, but we almost certainly won't. So.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I'm sorry, we hear you, we definitely hear you.
Yeah, and if there,
Go ahead.
again, if you guys have any amazing ideas, rank the survey. Because it's just, that is not an easy decision to make, and I'm sorry. And then we hear not just the feedback, but the emotion in it, and it's very real. So.
Hey, long-time cruiser, first-time question asker. Unfortunately, I do appreciate everybody's situation, and I don't have any impacts as great as those. I did first want to say thank you. I feel like I'm a better person for having attended on this cruise. I don't have a lot of things to deal with, but I know I'm a better person because I was here. Just a couple of quick questions. Cheers. What in your eyes makes for a more or less successful cruise? It might be an easy throwaway answer. And also, would you consider or what circumstances would it take for maybe having multiple cruises, maybe even multiple smaller cruises to accommodate different, ports of call and as well as ports of leaving? Maybe these were already asked, but just a couple of things like you almost went broke on 2018. Maybe that's not even a possibility. But what would it take? What in your eyes would make it successful enough to maybe split it up to do a little bit?
Split the party, is that what you're asking us to do?
You never split the party.
Double the party.
I mean, I will say that the thing to me that makes for a successful cruise, I mean, I don't know how, if we knew how to do it right every time, we would do it. We know the bits and pieces that we know the general list of inputs that we need to provide to make it turn out right. But, my assessment of it is how much people enjoy themselves and feel like they are, with a community that respects them and allows them to be themselves while we're on board, and that's, to me, that is, the most important thing that we do and the goal that we're always shooting for, and so that's my measure of whether it was a success or not.
Yeah, it's, I mentioned the survey before from the start. That's been it, is we throw up these fun, dumb ideas, whatever they are, and the things that the community reacts to or brings. Like the tabletop gaming is something that just evolved naturally from the community. Same with crafting. So that's what makes it successful, is seeing what people are doing and doing more of that. As far as expansion, it's supply and demand. But always, if we were to do it, to make sure that We were doing it in a way that it meant more people could experience this. So we're not going to do it just for the sake of it. And we'll see. And you know, it's true that we don't know. We don't know what demand will be, and we would like to do that, but question mark.
Thank you. Cheers. Hi, this is a little less a question than a comment. I am loving the back concert, back stage and deck. For music performances, it's great to be able to walk around and talk to people, go front and dance if I want to, or go back and rest or something. I'm hoping we're gonna get that again. I'm not sure if I would prefer a pool cover or not. You know, maybe a mismeasurement left you with a great thing, because if that was a bunch of chairs, it might, to me, be less cool than it is now. So, I'm glad you thought of that. I'm glad you were able to make it work. I would love to see it again. And to everyone, I'm the guy that hands out the little metal tags. If you want them, this is what I look like today. Just thanks.
Right. Yeah, thank you. That backstage has been, it's very fun to play, and I agree, going out there and walking around and seeing the vibe out there, it's a pleasure. It's a different thing, and it's really nice. And yeah, the pool cover, happy accident left a kind of cool situation. You know, we will of course evaluate all the feedback and talk to the performers and talk to our crew and listen to what you have to say and make a decision about how to run it this year. But I appreciate that feedback. Thank you.
I feel comfortable sharing our internal discussions just sort of amongst ourselves as the week has gone on, is that people seem to very much be enjoying the back deck stage. They seem to be enjoying the fact that the pool cover isn't there and that the pool's an option. I was honestly more skeptical than anyone and more worried about potential for injury and things
Poly
like that.
pool cover, we call it.
Yeah, poly pool cover was said on my nameplate on my desk. But you know, I thought it's been great. One of the things, assuming we bring the back deck stage back next year, and all current indications and feedback pending, seems like we will. It seems to have gone very well. We will try and do a better job, having learned from this year, as far as seating arrangements out there and having more chairs available. There's limitations space-wise, certainly, but we just essentially ran out of chairs. We didn't bring enough chairs.
Yeah, we left one pallet in St. Louis. Sorry.
But that's certainly the baseline of our expectation. And again, pending, you know, we say it a lot, but it genuinely, we send out the post-cruise survey. It's long. We know that it's long, but it's very valuable to us. And we take every response to heart, and we aggregate that information into what helps drive our next decisions. So yeah, that's our current thinking right now. Who can say for sure, but certainly trends indicate positively on the back deck stage.
And there will be a separate little section this year just for feedback on that.
Yeah, and just two, random pool cover related items. The one being a zombie in the pool during Read Your Brains was very fun for me personally. Really quite athletic and difficult. But also that, that the pool cover is so large it can't fit in the elevators, and each section is 150 pounds and needs to be carried up the stairs from A deck to deck 9. So we
won't be sorry if it goes away.
Yeah, the folks who loved it, myself a bit included, yeah. It's heavy. Would have been nice if it more.
Good question.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, you already addressed one aspect of the masking policy, which was the timing of the announcement. The other concern that I've seen and have experienced is people not following the masking policy. And so my question is, what can be done if there are masks on 2024 to ensure that the policy is followed more rigorously? Yes.
Yeah. Well, first off, there are always going to be people, I think, going forward in this world who want to be masking. There certainly would never be a policy that made it against the rules to wear no masks.
I'm never
There will be
taking
masks on 2024.
COVID or not, I'm never
now-
taking a flight again without a mask on.
Yeah. So but as to what the policy is, as we've said, we're not ready to say.
Yeah, and as far as, enforcing it, this is hard because there are a lot of people on the ship. When somebody is not wearing a mask, it is very difficult to tell, just like poking your head into a room like this, and you see somebody not wearing a mask. Are they having a drink, or did they just get a drink? Did they just finish a drink and they forgotten to put it back on? Are they flaunting the rules? Are they trying to get away with something? It's very difficult to tell. So while it would be great if we had a fleet of 1,000 robot drones who could fly around the ship and know what's in everybody's hearts and remind the people who need to be reminded to put masks on. It's just an impossible undertaking. And so, in last year, we really, it was even more of an issue last year because there were still people who were wishing that we were maskless last year, and obviously it was the same policy. I think that what we hope, we've always sort of relied on this community to regulate itself, and in my experience, this may not be everybody's experience, but just anecdotally, it seems like we are very supportive and good at taking care of each other in this face-to-face, person-to-person way. And so, I would encourage you, if you are in a room and there's somebody who's not wearing a mask, I think you should feel free to say, like, hey, would you mind putting on a mask? And I would be willing to bet most of the time they'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot. And if they do not, then if they refuse, then please let us know. I'm not sure what else to say about that. I don't know if anybody, I don't know if you have any suggestions about how we should.
I have heard other conventions have like a 3 strikes you're out type policy, and
Right.
they have people that try to monitor it, and if they find someone out of compliance, they like punch a card or something so you can keep track of it. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
I think the only other suggestion I have is when making the masking announcements, if you could just remind everybody that this is for the health and safety of all of our guests, and that it's for the health and safety of people that are immunocompromised, that would hopefully encourage people to follow it more rigorously.
Yeah.
Thank you.
First cruise. Thank
Welcome.
you.
You're
It's
welcome.
everything I knew it would be.
Wonderful. You're here.
I wanted the first cruise to be my first cruise, and the second cruise, and the third cruise, and the fourth cruise. It took me 10 years to have enough money to come. So here's an idea about Florida, but I feel sure you've talked about this and you haven't answered. I heard what you said about you sell it on itinerary while people really appreciate the content. But perhaps for all the people who might be sad about doing the same itinerary, maybe there are many more people like me who would come if it was on land and we could afford it better. And I feel like you've definitely asked yourself this question, so I'd like to know what you
Funny
think.
enough, we have.
Yeah.
Every year. Yeah, so we've looked at what makes this work, and it's a lot of things, and what makes it unique. And we have looked for a land analog to it. Well, I think one of the keys is that it's a closed environment, but it touches down in places. There's enough to do, but not so much that you lose the cohesion. Like, we're forced to be in a community in some ways because we're on a ship together. But there also have to be amenities and comfortable things. So we've looked at, you can't do something like a convention center in a major city because then you go out to the restaurants here and you lose the center. There's also the model of like a folk festival or a big outdoor festival where you camp, but you don't have the range of attractions and variety. And go ahead.
Or maybe a resort somewhere.
We've looked at that too.
Yeah.
But then
You might have to lock the doors. to keep it warm.
That's putting out a great message to our attendees. You don't understand. You're stuck in here with me.
We have looked at that, and the numbers don't work. Like, in terms of the per diem cost, like, cruise is actually a very good value for what you get. And we haven't, we'd love to find one, but finding something that hits all those sweet spots. And seriously, if you or anybody else can think of something like that, please, in the feedback, as we talk about different events we would do, we would be open to it. And for sure, it would just be like, it's difficult, like Paul had said, even to translate this to a different type of ship, to make it work. And we did move from the one set of ships to much larger ships and back again. It worked, it can be done, but we wouldn't do it lightly, and that would be a massive transition.
And it's not quite the same thing, but we have discussed and have increasingly discussed in recent years, maybe not a full weekend convention style, everybody pile into a place, but doing, not necessarily a full touring version of it, but doing sort of smaller concert versions, whereas the three of us and regional people who are, if anybody remembers Woodstock, the show that's going on with Will and Adam Savage would bring around to different places every so often. Something like that. It's obviously not the same thing, but to at least get a taste and to meet back up with some of the people who have been on this experience and to give some other people a taste of what this experience is like, at a convention or a theater near a convention or just, however that works. We've definitely looked into and are continuing to look into that as an option. As we say, it's obviously not the same thing as the cruise or some sort of communal collective experience for longer than a day or two, but it's something, and it's also something that we are reasonably capable of. I mean, we'd love to take you all to a summer camp somewhere for a week, but it's not easy. You can't just say, well, let's just do all of this, but do it on land. It's a whole different organizational, just the thoughts of how to repalletize everything and redistribute it alone, I'm sure is giving Drew the fits.
Well, I think that's, to jump in briefly, one of the things that makes this such a special venue is the amazing support that we're able to get from the ship's crew and the customizability of the ship as a venue. The idea of going to a land venue where the food is this good, where the service is this good, where at a moment's notice an electrician will come and add in power drops, where, there's 950 crew here. And that is, and the support that we get to run this event from them is pretty difficult to overstate. They are incredibly hardworking. Without the support of the ship, the event would be different, and that would definitely, if we needed to spend a week with a crew of 200 people setting up a place, and then the food's not as good, or your bathroom breaks and somebody doesn't show up to fix it, there's something nice about this.
Spiders in your tent.
Yeah, there would be spiders. Yeah. Please.
Hi, I have an idea and then a comment. The idea around masking and there being masking is why I'm here this year. Is that my home convention, what they did when they announced their masking policy for this year is they said, all masked, all vaxxed, and from this point on, we will only get more strict. We are not gonna loosen up. And it doesn't matter which way you guys are gonna go or which way you're thinking, but if when you announce your policy, you say, we're considering these different things, and these are the parts that can change, and these are the parts that will not change from here on, or will only get strict, or will only get looser, whatever you guys decide. I think that would help a lot for people to keep their balance in the swaying wind.
That makes a lot of sense.
So let me just restate actually what you said, so I'm sure I understand. So you're saying basically announce the masking policy, but be clear about which aspects might change and in which direction.
Correct.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I would also say if you're looking at CDC numbers, please look at the hospital numbers and not the community numbers, because the community numbers are bullshit.
Yeah, of course.
So my comment is, this is my second cruise. My family, we're a two-mom family, and we were planning on coming. We can't afford to come every year either, but every 2 years or so was kind of our goal. And like the person who had to bring their marriage license, we had to bring our adoption decree in order to make sure that if anything happened to our kid, that both of us had rights to him and rights to say what could happen to him. because of Florida.
Yeah.
And also, he is a cisgender boy. He's 4, but he loves his long hair and his bangs, and he loves to wear pink. And so he's misgendered constantly everywhere we go. Like, that's just normal, right? But when we're back home, if I say a sentence, you know, they say she and I say he, then they correct themselves. And it really devastates him when people have been corrected and they continue to call him she. He's like, I'm not a girl, I'm a boy.
Yeah.
And that has been happening consistently, even if I say he really loudly to make sure in Florida and on the ship, to be honest, where people are not listening. And so he is being misgendered over and over and over again. And I'm really worried because he's 4, and this is the age where you start to learn what kind of boy you're allowed to be.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't know if by the time he's 6 that he will still love pink, even though it's his absolute favorite color, and he'll still want to wear his hair long.
Yeah.
But I do know that as long as we're going out of Florida, I'm not coming back either, and my family's not either, because it's not safe for us.
Yeah. Can I ask you, the misgendering, do you find that is happening mostly with attendees or with ship staff or with both?
Mostly
or?
with ship staff,
Uh-huh.
but not only.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry about that, and yeah, I mean, thank you for that feedback. You know, we do talk a lot about gender with the ship staff in the various meetings that we have with them, and specifically we say, you know, don't use gender, you know, because they have a lot of training to, you know, sir and ma'am, and we, from the very beginning, that's one of the first things we say in the week-long site visit meeting that we have to the room. You know, I think one of the things that has happened in the cruise industry and in this cruise line is that the crew had a terrible time during COVID. You know, people were stuck on ships for months and couldn't get home because the ports were closed and nobody could fly anywhere. And then a lot of them did get home and didn't know that when they were going to have a job on a cruise ship again, and have never returned. So the industry, it's an industry-wide problem, but they are still working on building back their crews, and I think it's entirely possible that there are a lot of new people on the crew this year. You know, I think that the crew who has been on a JoCo cruise before, at least one time before, has a better sense of it. So that I'm not trying to excuse it. Obviously, it shouldn't be happening, but I think that may be an aspect of what we're seeing.
And if you're comfortable sharing your information with the info desk or with us after the cruise, you know, we would like to share that feedback with the ship, with the, you know, whole force of this organization behind it. That's not acceptable.
And
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And this feedback is also, we do share this with our industry people that may be in the room right now. So hearing this is important. We're one event of the year, but we do have a voice.
And regarding what you had said, we've had a couple of people address the issue right now. It is the most important to us that everyone make the decision that is best for you and your family's safety and health, mental and otherwise. And we are of course sad to lose a person for, you know, who would enjoy this event. I mean, we'll be fine. We are sad, you know, if this is something you want to do and can't because of the situation. And I can only reiterate, you know, we absolutely hear you, and your stories and your questions and your concerns are not falling on deaf ears, and
We want all of you to be able to come here and feel safe on the way and during the trip and on the way home.
Exactly. And we're all, you know, the entire country and beyond is going through some very deep, very rough, very quick moving waters and transitions and changes, and we all want to help each other ride it out. And unfortunately, much as we would love to just pick up and move to another location, we can't do that in the short term. We promise you we are working on considering options to be able to make a version of this event or this event you know, happen in a place where, you know, everyone does feel safe to come and attend. But you know, please do what you have to for your own and security and for those you love.
And in the meantime, don't stop, talk to us, please.
Yeah.
Continue to it's very good to hear this feedback. It's important for us to hear it.
Hi, +1 out of Florida, +1 for masking to infinity, because it's what helps me feel safe while I'm here on board. And frankly, I have all this gray hair because I've spent the last 3 years arguing with the management in my office and in my county about the necessity of safety for workers, because somehow I ended up in union leadership. And it is grueling to argue with people who don't believe that masking is essential. So to whatever extent you can, please don't make attendees responsible for policing each other. That's so hard to do. The real reason that I'm here is a very selfish concern. I'm not going ashore tomorrow at Half Moon Cay because last year, the thing that I was hoping was going to be really great was a decidedly mixed experience at best. I left some feedback for Hal and for the home office, and I didn't hear anything back. So I just wanted to let you know that while the staff on Half Moon Cay was really, really helpful, I suggested to Hal and to the home office that you create an excursion for Half Moon Cay for people with limited mobility. So that they would get access to a beach chair, because they have a beach chair, but they didn't know how to use it. I was like, hi, I can help you. The shuttles between the food and the beach are not accessible. And by the time we got over there on the tender, all of the clamshells close to the walkway were taken. So they made amends for almost everything, but the real kicker was that I had to choose between the bathroom and lunch. So I chose bathroom. And I had a really good time. I dunked myself in the Caribbean, which was what I wanted to do. But then as I was leaving, the little foot wash, not accessible. I had to come back on the ship all sandy and salty about it. And so,
Literally salty.
And so, it's something that could be fixed without a lot. It wouldn't be a perfect solution, but it would be a better solution to allow people to self-identify as, I need more help to enjoy Half Moon Cay. Here is what I need. The staff was great, but I think we could do better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna just take my phone out to make a note about this, not to text,
And we actually have been working more on accessibility in particular, and this is something we can take to that panel. Also, we do know that there are plans for them to redo Half Moon Cay, and this is something we can bring to them. If they're making these plans anew, this can be something they consider from the start.
Yeah, they've got a plan in place that has been pushed several times thanks to COVID, but they are making Half Moon Cay they're building a pier and digging the trench so it will no longer be a tender port. Unfortunately, it's not a quick process, and as we say, it has been pushed a number of times because of the pandemic, but it is something that is in the future. The concrete plans in the future, but again, we will be sure, as well should you, to pass along your concerns to Holland America. To the extent we can, every time we try to. And obviously, they are a very large corporation. We are a single event, but it is important. It is very important to us that our event be welcoming to everyone, including accessibility issues. And we know that they themselves are up against issues of we're in foreign places that are not subject to the ADA. And sometimes the easy choice is not the best choice on their end, and there's things that they may or may not have control of. But that said, we absolutely will continue on our end to advocate for these sorts of things. I think everything you suggested is a wonderful idea, and we will actually probably talk to, once we're back from the cruise,
Well, and it's
the doctor
tomorrow, so
excursion,
we'll
whoever
see
they
if there's
are.
something we can do that, that is possible for you tomorrow. I would say the foot wash, I don't know about that, but to rebuild the foot wash, but getting, there and back again, we will look at, I'm gonna go talk to someone after this when there's a moment.
And it is not like our event is the only cruise that ever has people in wheelchairs by any stretch.
Certainly not Holland America.
It seems like a very simple ask and recommendation to them to make some clamshells and some lounge chairs reserved for accessibility, which is a thing we've tried to do at all our onboard events with accessible seats, and on the back deck stage area we have an accessible seating area. And such things we always try to bear in mind, and it's absolutely, we hate that, you have to keep shouting about it in order to be heard, but let's keep squeaking that wheel. We are happy to squeak it on your behalf as well. So, but thank you for, reminding us again and keeping us motivated to do so.
And it's absolutely possible to provide some amount of that additional assistance and clarity in the messaging about what is available. Riz has DJ'd ashore, and we've helped to provide mobility assistance there. So we'll do what we can for tomorrow and going forward. And thank you, and keep telling us if we keep screwing up.
We're going to have to end shortly. We're going to try and work through as much of this line as possible. We're going to have to cap the line there, unless there was anyone else who can't make it down to the microphone who had a question. Raise your hand. Otherwise, go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Alex. This is my 6th cruise, and I don't have a question, but I would like to add my voice to those who are calling for us to pull out of Florida. And there are a number of my friends who would have an absolute blast here, and I can't recommend that they come because it would require them to pass through Florida in order to get here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, excuse me, less a question and more an observation, but we really need to just put an end to Twitter. As far as I can tell, it was maybe useful for about 10 minutes in 2014 when we called everybody to the Labyrinth, had an impromptu dance party, we invited everybody, as was our royal prerogative at the time, and then it's been downhill ever since. And I think my hot take beyond that is if people have gotten in trouble for how they've acted on Twitter, barring really bad offenses, we should all start from zero. It's as if we've handed people basically an anger pill and a loaded gun and said, behave. And the thing that kills me about it is, for everything that's probably been talked about on Twitter, my friends and I in the boat have had discussions about those topics, and they've been deep and sometimes they've been difficult, but because we love one another and because we knew each other before we ever ran into a digital incarnation of one another, we are willing to extend grace to one another. And I really, really hate that there are people who are not enjoying this cruise or who are having a difficult time because they're not, as you said, Jonathan, able to interact face to face. And that has always been the strength of this cruise. And if we need to have templates for hey, meet up here, or hey, here's how you can reach me, cool. But we're on a boat together. How often, you run into everybody all the time. And I think that my closing thought is we just had a memorial service. My girlfriend and a couple of our friends for one of our friends who we knew in a large way through the boat. And not once did it come up about the things he tweeted, but it came up here are all the people he was excited to make happy and to see happy. And I don't want us to become enemies to one another. That's all.
We literally have this conversation every year, and we had it last night, and I think you said it as well as we could have.
Hi, so we've already heard a lot about the Florida situation and what you're doing to look into it, address the situation. But I want to ask this for both on behalf of myself as a trans person and a lot of current and past trans cruisers and people in that community. Are you doing everything you can to get out of Florida, and can you give concrete examples of what you are doing?
Well, doing has to do with what choices do we have for ships. And part of it is financial, is in that can we put on an event on a much smaller ship and make this sustainable? And the answer is no. Can we move to a larger ship and have it be sustainable? The answer is no. The question is, are there other itineraries that could be sustainable? And that's a big question mark too. And we do want to do it. And when we have the opportunity, we will. And right now, the way our contracts work, we're locked in for what it is.
Yeah,
So-
the cruise industry works on a multi-year timeline. As he says, we are locked in for some time, and sure, we could just decide to break our contract, and that would put us in the position of having to deal with that fact. And so we're trying to find a way to service all of our community members, including our trans community members, and also keep our event sustainable and afloat. This is also our jobs, and that's not to say that we value that more than your health and safety, but we're trying to find a way to keep everything.
I'll say our hope is that because, and this is why this feedback is important, and because we can bring this as to why it's important for there to be options other than Florida, because these ships can move around and be in other places. I'll say one of the other options that's potential is to fly out of Puerto Rico. But I'll say that would be probably, just guessing, 25 to 30% more costs.
And the event would be 2 to 3 days shorter because the ship doesn't operate originally out of Puerto Rico, so it would sail into Florida to drop off the previous sailing, then have to sail to Puerto Rico, and then we'd get on it, then we'd have to get off, and then sail back to Florida. So it's, there's a lot of math and moving parts involved, and I don't mean to be glib describing it that way, but it is a very difficult situation to try and juggle all of the moving parts. And again, that's not to excuse ourselves or say, well, then we might as well not even try, because we are trying, and we promise that we hear and we are working. But it's a difficult road and a lengthy road, unfortunately.
But those
because
are
of the nature of the position we're in.
a couple of the specific things, and there are a dozen more, but we do chase these down. And when we see an opportunity, we will.
Okay, thank you very much. Just wanted to say that if the situation continues as it currently looks to be continuing to head out of Florida, both myself and many other people will not be able to keep coming. And so my last quick question linked to that is, can you share anything about 2025?
2025?
About the itinerary, where we would be sailing from then, any info? I think the dates have already been announced, but...
Oh, 2025? You talking about next year? Or
Yes,
the year
after 24. 24.
Oh, after 24. Oh, that's right, we accidentally announced dates. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we are currently contracted out of Florida for 2025. I can say that.
Okay, thank you for the confirmation.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hello. First of all, +1, no Florida, and +1, continue masking. Does the THO have on staff or via contract consulting a health and safety person who actually keeps up on all of this epidemiology? And is the goal to get back to 2019 era infection control, or do you guys have a number of acceptable COVID diagnoses that you will consider, well, only 5 people got it this year, so that's fine? Or do you just not even get that information from Cal?
Sorry, so you're saying, is our goal to return to a 2019, you mean in other words, no masking, you're talking about pre-COVID?
Yeah, are you trying to get back to a pre-COVID state of operation, or are you accepting that there's always going to be some measure of this masking policy? But that's actually not really the important part of the question I'm asking. I'm asking is,
Oh, okay.
how are you guys are you guys consulting with actual epidemiologists versus just reading like CDC guidance? And does how actually inform you as to incidents of infection that happen on board? So you actually have information to go on as to what's working and what's not.
Yeah, they do, and we don't have an epidemiologist on staff or anything like that, and.
But we do consult a wide variety of sources. We're not just sort of looking at what's listed in the Washington Post every day on their chart or anything like that. But we do look to the extent that we can, as lay people, ask people who know more than we do from multiple sources and try and just get a general sense. There's no sort of magical mathematical formula where we will say, aha, y equals 6, so now we can change the policy here. We are informed of the various health incidents and such on board our sailing. We don't get that information, at least in any detail, for any other sailings out of HAL other than what they may publicly report, if that's part of your question. But again, we're not looking for a specific number or a zero number necessarily. We just, each year we feel we have to evaluate where the situation is, where the pandemic is pointing, and I can't give you a really more specific answer than that, unfortunately.
I think one of the kind of complicated things about the new era, I mean, like, are we trying to go back to 2019? I mean, anybody who's been through this knows we can't, because the world's different.
Yeah.
And one of the things that changed with the pandemic was the addition, like today, in some sense, where it's like, are we epidemiologists, and can we fix the problems with social media? And we can't, and we aren't, and like our expertise is throwing a vacation, and that is not to poo-poo those concerns, and we absolutely consult the sources that we do, but there are limitations to what our capabilities are as an organization with the year-round W2 staff of 4.
And also that I don't believe that you can run a major event, and let alone a cruise ship, with the same risk profile that you can experience in other settings. And in my household, Mrs. Storm lives with a chronic condition that in her risk profile she determined that it was not an acceptable risk for her, and that obviously makes her sad and me sad. But that's where we are at this moment. We hope in the future it changes.
Real quick, hopefully your questions are quick. I don't mean to rush you greatly. We are running a little over, but we would love to get to your questions if you are still interested. Please go ahead.
I'm Nick. I'll be very brief. How has the act of managing the cruise impacted you personally and creatively? And are you okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we have all, I think, had this experience this year of, the world continues to get weird and terrible in new, surprising ways every day. It has been a rough few years for everybody. I know we've all had our own struggles of various kinds. And I think especially this year, we really hear the increased volume from people who are hurting from all that stuff that is happening. And we really do care about this community and this event, and it is so important to us that everyone is able to come who wants to come, and that everybody who is here feels comfortable being themselves. And I think we have all heard loud and clear that there's a lot more pain out there this year. And it is hard to hear. And not that you shouldn't be telling us, I want you to tell us, but it is hard to hear because you know, it makes us sad to think that we are not able to reach that goal. And so we've all had moments where we've been thinking about these issues and talking about these issues and trying to figure out how to make it better and try to solve these problems. And we literally, we literally have to go out and walk to the back deck to see people having a good time and being together to remind us that that is also happening to some extent. That is also a thing that is happening here.
Yeah, in answer to your question, running this cruise over the past 12 cruises, it's made me a much more empathetic person. You know, I liked to think I was empathetic, and then I met you all.
Oh yeah.
It's made me a kinder person. It's made me a more open person. I mean,
now I'm gonna get pissed. We've all learned a shit ton about stuff that we didn't know about.
Just
really wonderful.
every year, the 80 million small and medium and large acts of kindness that I see on the ship over the course of the week really just buoys me for the remainder of the year. I can just think back on just all of the great people doing great things. And that's not to say this event is perfect, but it means as much to us as it does to all of you, we promise. This is, you know, it's a job, but it is not just our job by any stretch. We would not do this if we didn't enjoy it as much as we did. So thank you for that.
Yeah. But we're fine, thanks.
So we should start your last question.
Last question, no pressure. I want to start by saying thank you for being vulnerable here and listening to us. A summary of opinions is that I am an immunocompromised, disabled, chronically ill trans parent of a trans teen. And I'm going to try and come back every year because I love you and I love what you give us. And I also run an anime convention, so I understand exactly how hard what you're trying to do is.
Thank you.
With that wrapped up, my question is, how do you decide what you staff by volunteer versus contract? Because I'm having this issue in my anime convention, and I want to know. And also, you have untapped talent sitting in this auditorium for a couple of problems that I saw over this week that have been turned down when they volunteered to assist. And also, I know a professional in the industry who is a disability advocate who I would like to put you in contact with.
Yeah, no, let's talk. I mean, you know, it was actually Cruise Mom Tara's initiative to start this
Disability panel, I guess.
Yeah,
Accessibility
panel, and you know, that's how we got feedback from the community, and that's how we ended up with the assistive listening devices this year. There's plenty more that we can do, and yeah, we definitely, if you or anyone else out there is a person who you know, has knowledge about this and wants to share it with us, we want to hear it, because we obviously have our own blind spots, and we can't see it the way you do. And so we really do rely on you to tell us, like, this is not working and I know how to fix it. Like, that's great. That's really great to hear. So please, yes, we would love to exchange info with you.
Sure.
Oh, and well, just to your question about helpers versus contract, the contracted folks have signed the NDA that protects guest information and guest data, and they are, while they love this community, they're not people who are here to also have their vacation, so we can ruin their days more. And that's really where we draw the line, is if it's going to involve contact with sensitive guest information, we try to keep that on the contracted side. And if it's going to involve, you know, long hours, mission critical stuff, carrying the pool cover up the stairs, that's all contract.
Throw the pool cover off the ship. Don't bring it back.
Major environmental.
That would be literally
not allowed.
Making the news.
But thank you for your question, and thank you all for your questions. We're going to do a comedy panel now. We'll sit around- Jamie originally, thank you all for coming, and have a great remainder of your cruise.
And
Thanks
fill
so
out
much.
those surveys after the cruise.
Please.